playing the simulation game on the video games to find out the upcoming season. Kevin McHale makes our brain think again. A lot of interesting names are not signed at this point. And the value of Joakim Noah. So thus far, that's all NBA on September 18th. We'll talk about how brutal what BYU has to go through as well. It's all coming up on today's edition of Tip Off. I was going to do a whole bit about the 47% of Jazz fans that will never listen to this. And how they just sit and watch TV and they never go to games, so I can't really worry about them. But then I realized that probably wouldn't be very funny to my Utah audience, so I'm not going to do it. Hope everyone's good. What is this? Oh, hi there. The office is getting messy again. It's only so long that I can try to keep it clean. By the way, did I mention that Stanford beat USC? Woo, fear the tree, baby. My kids are so tired of me talking about this. So tired of it. They think I'm completely crazy. And they're right. How are you? Technology-wise, there's a new thing out there called Tout that I'm going to start using because I've been looking for something. Lincoln Anderson is like my greatest godsend ever. He's a listener. This is what's so awesome about this. I actually came down the stairs this morning at 5:50, and I was thinking to myself, you gotta get more interaction, Anyway, so it's kind of my ongoing thought is more interaction. Lincoln Anderson's like the greatest example of. I hope I'm saying his name right. I don't have it up on my phone right now, but I have a note to try to reach out to him. But he has been kind of really heavily monitoring Google Hangouts for me, and they've made some changes, and I'm going to launch. Maybe not this week. I'm actually heading to New York to meet up with a buddy and go ride a century ride in Massachusetts and Vermont at the end of the week. But I'm going to monitor Google Hangout. We'll do vocals once a week or Google Hangouts, depending which would turn out to be better. There's some cool features in it. I might talk to Furness tonight because we'll do our two guys on the 12 late tonight, and we may keep an eye out. We may record it via a Google Hangout, which allows you guys to watch it live and maybe be able to sneak in and ask a question. So keep an eye on it. It'll probably be late, though, like 9:30, 10. That's usually when we record that at night. So anyway, there's this new thing called Tout. It allows me to take my phone, for example, not working, and record a 15-second. I can't find the app, so here it is. So I can take my phone and record a sample tout. So like I take my phone. Unfortunately, I don't have a cool phone that does both directions, so I'd have to do it like this. And if you're on YouTube, you can see it. It's my ugly mug. And then I hit this button. Hey, it's David Locke. This is our first tout. What Jazz player do you think is going to have the biggest impact on the Jazz increasing their win total this year? Answer with hashtag LockeTout. And then I hit stop, and then it should be there. And I send this out, and this is our first tout, and then you guys all respond and reply. It's kind of cool. So, and it really, what's more cool about it, and I'm hoping, and this is if anyone knows any technology of this sort, what I'm hoping is I finish a Jazz game. I'm hoping I can do it off my computer and stuff like that. But I finish a Jazz game. You only have like 15 seconds. And I give you a quick 2 thoughts on the game, and then you guys can send in your replies on it. Then hopefully, if possible, the best ones, which are hard 15 seconds, I grab and then play in tip-off and respond to. Now, the only problem with that is it screws up the YouTube. For those of you on YouTube, you wouldn't get it, so I'd have to do it on the backside and it'd just be an audio element. I am looking for a technology, if it's out there, where you guys could call and leave your thoughts on something, and if it's really good, I play them back on tip-off to create some more interaction. So if anyone has any thoughts on that, let's do it. All right, fun little simulation. Again, that great interaction. Somebody did this Utah Media hashtag the other day, and it was one of those, I thought the irony to me was that they were asking about how social networking has impacted things, and I thought the irony was that there was no way in 140 characters that I could actually explain how much better my life is because I get to interact with everyone on hashtags. Anyway, there's this guy out there. His name is Twitter name is Candy Bar with 2 R's 15, and he's got a little blog that you're not updating it enough, dude. Keep working, man. I'm just kidding. And so he was doing these various simulations of the Jazz, and he was using different lines, and the team was coming out terribly all the time, and he was all upset. So I sent him a quick note and said, do the following. Play Mo Williams 32 minutes of point guard with Randy Foye at 16 backing him up. Play Gordon Hayward at 30 minutes at shooting guard with Alec Burks backing him up for 18 minutes. I actually kind of screwed up here. Play Marvin Williams 30 minutes with Gordon Hayward playing 8 minutes and Paul Millsap playing 10 minutes at small forward. The only thing I screwed up is I meant to have Randy Foye play a few extra minutes somewhere, but maybe he'll only play 16 with Mo. Play Derek Favors. So then Gordon's playing 38 a night in my scenario here. Burks is playing 18, Foye 16, Mo 32. Foye can play more than 16 somehow. Then I had Favors play 30 minutes with Millsap playing 18. Millsap then plays 28 in this combination tonight. Al Jefferson play 30 minutes a night with Favors playing 6 minutes a night at center, so he'd play those with Millsap in some version of a lineup, and Cantor playing 12 minutes. So that was my version of the lineup. And there's some problems that I can't quite do it. It's pretty high on Mo's 32 and Randy Foye's 16 is fine. Earl and Jamal are out of the rotation at that scenario, Earl being hurt. Gordon's 38 minutes a night might be too high to average, but maybe not. Burks is at 18 minutes a night, which is a little lower than some people would like him, but you know what? If he earns more than that, he earns more than that. Marvin at 30 is about where I think he probably should be. I really think we're going to like Marvin Williams an awful lot. Millsap at 28 with Favors at 36 and Jefferson at 30. We probably could move those around a little bit. Cantor at 12. I think that's right. So anyway, so he built that simulation for me, and I appreciate it. And it came out on 2K12. 10 seasons he did. The best was 50 and 32. We made the playoffs in 9 out of 10. I thought this was a great note that he sent me, which was Hayward actually led the team in scoring. He's playing more minutes, but he led the team in scoring, and Jefferson's down to 30 minutes a night in my scenario. Hayward led the team in scoring in 3 of the 10 scenarios. And for the average of the 10 seasons, averaged 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists a game. That's special stuff right there. 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists a game. Now, none of this is obviously realistic or anything of that nature, but I was playing. There aren't a lot of guys in the league. If Gordon can start to do that, that gets you to a definitely gets you to a different kind of caliber player than we have had playing in a wing position for us and probably since Hornacek, and that's probably what he'll be. But there aren't a lot of guys in the NBA that can put up those kind of numbers. And again, none of this is real. But if you just search last season, the amount of guys who put up those kind of numbers are few and far between. I will do the search right here. I think LeBron hits into that category. I mean, you're into just that special, well-rounded, fabulous player that's able to convert and help the team in different ways. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Thanks a lot for that. A few other things. Kevin McHale has just been like the best brain guy. By the way, the guys who did that last year were LeBron, Westbrook, Wade, Kobe, Kyle Lowry, and John Wall. By the way, John Wall thus far has been a bust. He just hasn't clicked in. He shot 42% last year. If there was any way, he shot 3 of 42 from 3 last year. If there was any way possible the Jazz could coax him out of Washington, I still strongly believe in John Wall. All right. Anyway, there's no likelihood of that. But McHale had some interesting comments. He thought that player-coach relationships last year were worse because of the lockout. That this year he's able to kind of develop relationships with guys, talk to them throughout the season, find some common ground, do some things with them, and then from there, the next thing he talks about is how last year, his first interactions with these guys is under the scrutiny of playing a schedule, a training camp with a schedule coming right around the corner, and if anything's going wrong, he's like, I'm uptight as all get out because we have no time. So my first practice last year, I'm burying the guys, which is kind of stupid, and that's the basis of where we start getting along. So I thought that was. I thought that was a really interesting point. The player relations and coach relations can have some time. And Tyrone has spent. I've been texting with Tyrone all summer. He's never in town. He's always seeing a player. He's always going out somewhere. A lot of times in Santa Barbara with the guys. Other times back in Atlanta. I mean, he's just been with these guys a tremendous amount in combative or just time together. And that's his strength. So I think that'll really help him a great deal. Thursday night, BYU takes the field at 7 o'clock Mountain Time at Boise State. Wow. I mean, that is just tough. BYU actually doesn't play a Saturday game until October 13th. The only, BYU's schedule, it's interesting. I mean, they should beat Hawaii. Hawaii's not very good after that. Utah State's good enough to get them, right? And then Oregon State's good enough to get them, and Notre Dame's good enough to get them, and Georgia Tech's good enough to get them. And they're probably good enough to beat those teams too. But what's interesting to me just on where this stands is that you really, BYU more so than ever, and they have it this year, have to have unbelievable, solid senior leadership to get through a season when you don't have this conference kind of restart button that everyone else does. Utah has been only okay. So far this year, and they now get this kind of reset button that I just think psychologically helps you an awful lot. They have some momentum coming off that, but I really think they have this reset button that helps them a tremendous amount. And the fact that BYU doesn't get that this year, or maybe ever, just the way things are playing out, I think BYU may end up being independent forever. It makes things awfully difficult. Oh, yeah, I mentioned one other thing I wanted to. I thought this was a really interesting piece. Give me 1 second. Has anyone else found that, like, you work on your computer and you just read off your tablet? Ooh, too much technology. Oh, my gosh, did you hear about Stephen A. Smith getting... So, The Onion wrote a thing about Stephen A. Smith, and it was pretty funny, and Stephen A. Smith didn't know about The Onion, or someone just told him about it, and he goes to Twitter, and he just goes off, sends, like, this string of 4 tweets, and then suddenly has to realize that it was The Onion, and that he was on the wrong side of a joke. Where is this article that I wanted to get to? By the way, if you looked at the names, McHale Pietras, Anthony Tolliver, Marquise Daniel, Rasul Butler, Rodney Carney, I don't really like that much, Kenyon Martin, none of them have jobs right now. That, to me, is the first impact of where some things are going with the new collective bargaining agreement. And the other thing I would say on that is that there's just a lot of guys. Teams are just not signing those guys, and so when you suddenly look at Josh Howard or Raja Bell, that's why they don't have a job yet either. Shoot, I cannot find this. So really, I'm not the biggest fan from a statistical standpoint. I like what he does, and I actually always read what he does, but everyone's got different viewpoints. The wages of war of wins. He does some good stuff. He's out of Southern Utah, Dave Barry and his crew, and I sometimes you read some. I guess my point is I think sometimes they don't always pass the eyeball test. Wages of Win Journal. I think this is who did it. I hope that's who did it. And he did this thing on Joakim Noah, which had some statistical stuff that I had never analyzed or thought about or looked at before, which was he was able to break down Noah. Here's the average player with the same minutes as Noah would earn about 4 wins. He says the thing about Noah is that Noah earns a team an extra 7 wins, and he had it broken down by skill. His offensive rebounds are 3 wins over par. His assists are 1.4 wins over par. His defensive rebounds are 1 over par. His two-point shooting was 0.6. His lack of fouling is 0.5. His block shots is 0.4. His turnovers are 0.4. His free throw shooting 0.4. His three-pointers are 0, and he's a negative in regards to steals. I thought that was a pretty fascinating way to look at a player such as Noah, who's one of the top win share players in the NBA win shares, the estimated wins he gives someone. Bill Russell was talking about how much he liked him. That's what spurred this on. It led to a few things on thoughts. One is it actually took me to Karolinko. This is where we won so much with Karolinko, I think, because of these kind of things. The other one's Millsap with his, I think he second in the league in steals last year. And so he's suddenly garnering you a few wins in that fashion. He, as I showed in a silly little graphic yesterday, he was the team leader in win shares last year. I did a who was worth the most, what player was the biggest bargain, and what player actually was the biggest ripoff yesterday on Locked On Jazz. And it was funny, Devin Harris came out as the guy who was the least valuable to the dollar player, followed by Jefferson because of his $14 million contract. But Hayward and Millsap were 1 and 2, and the Jazz have gotten rid of all the guys that were on the wrong side of that equation. So, interesting. All right, that's our tip-off today. Not enough NFL in here. My bad. I'll get back to it. The referees sucked last night, and you don't care at all, but I was in a fantasy football game against somebody who had Denver's defense. I was leading by 2 points, and Denver's defense got 1 the entire night. 1 point, 1 sack. That was it, and I won by 1. That's the kind of win that turns a fantasy football season around, baby. Now I'm way too crazy. See ya.